Hello, welcome to today's video where we are going to see how we can use Microsoft Stream to generate automatic captions for videos and then have them treated in a way that they are organized by timestamp so that it is easy to use them as video subtitles. We are going to see how to transform this text that we have here on the left, this text file, into an organized data set where we have the starting point, the ending point, and the text. All that information is in here. Each row corresponds to each one of these sets of 3 rows here on our text file. If you work with video editing, this will be very useful for you. But if you don't, you will still learn a couple of very nice tricks with powerquery that can be useful to apply in other scenarios. The exercise files will be available on my Telegram channel. The link is below the video on the video description. So welcome to another Snap Reports class. In these classes, I teach what I have been learning in my journey as Excel Business Solutions developer. And automating your work with Excel comes with a lot of benefits. The first one that you will see is that you will save time. But then what you choose to do with that time is where the greater good comes. With that time, you can offer more value to your company, or maybe you can leave earlier from work to spend time with your family or do things that you enjoy doing. Or you can use that time maybe to learn new skills and progress further and faster in your career. This class is for you, so feel free to send your feedback. I do appreciate and read all the comments and suggestions for new content, other ways of solving problems, and what the importance was of this video into your work. If you think the video is valuable to you, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and always share with your friends, your colleagues, your network, someone who you think will benefit from the knowledge that I share here. I am here today because of what I learned with the content shared by other people, and this is a chain of doing good. Let's continue that. So what we will cover today will be how to upload a video to Microsoft Stream, how to generate automatic captions for videos using Stream, how to download the generated captions file, and then how to import the captions into Excel and organize them by timestamp in a way that it will be easy to use. You will use powerquery to do that. And the best part is that you will only have to do this once. The next time, just get your file ready and press the button refresh all. Okay, so I have here a couple of files, text files already prepared from before, and I have here an MP4 file with a very short video that we will be uploading to Stream. Microsoft Stream is a tool available within Microsoft 365 for Enterprise. So if you have access to one of those enterprise accounts, you might be able to use Microsoft Stream depending on your tenant's permissions. How to access Microsoft Stream? You go to office.com and here on the left search for Microsoft Stream icon. If you don't find it, you can use here all apps and search for it. Once you do that, you will come to your content on Microsoft Stream. Once on Microsoft Stream, you can see your videos under My Content. You can use this button here to upload a video, browse to find the file, or just simply drag the file there. I have this video here, how to enable the formula bar in Power Query Editor in Excel. It's only 28 seconds. In here, the very important thing to do is to select the language so that Microsoft Stream knows to which language the captions should be generated to. And another important thing will be to make sure that you have auto-generate captions enabled here. So click Publish, and then you will have to wait some time, depending, it could be longer or shorter time depending on how long your video is. Coming to My Contents later, you will see your video there. And your captions should show here in the transcript window. It's not ready yet, it's still processing the captions. Let's refresh. After a while, you will see your captions here on the transcript window. Now, let's see how we can download this text and have it organized in an Excel spreadsheet, so that if you need to use it to create subtitles for your video, it's easy to copy and paste to the other application where you are doing that work. You can use the button here below the video, Edit Update Video Details. And here on the side, you will see Captions Download File. Let's click that. And the file will be downloaded to your Downloads folder. Then you can copy it to your preferred folder. I have the file in here. It comes as an extension .vtt. This is a specific text file for this type of subtitles work. If you don't see the file extension but you would like to see it, you can come to View here in your File Explorer and put a check mark where it says File Name Extensions. Let's open the file. I like to go and open with the Notepad or any other application of your choice to read text. And in here we see all the files will come with the same structure. A title here at the top, then it has a row that says the duration, total duration of the video, the language. There's an empty row in between each one of these rows, and then it starts with sets that go like this. A row that says note, with a confidence value for the translation for this first portion, and then again note, and then 3 rows, note, 3 rows. There's always a row, an empty row here in between each one of these sections, and then each one of these 3 rows have type of some kind of ID, and then the starting and ending time corresponding to this portion of text. Okay, the time in the video where it happened. So let's see how we can transform this information, bring it into Excel in a more organized way. In this folder, let's go to create a new Excel file. We can call it Captions. Open the file. And let's import the data from that text file with powerquery. Data from text CSV. This is the folder where I have the files. I cannot see the files here because powerquery is looking for TXT, CSV files, or PRN files. Text files, it says here. If we change this to all files, then we can see all the files available in that folder. The file we downloaded is this one. So let's do select and do import. It brings us to the editor, the first window where we can tweak some settings for this type of file. Usually I don't touch this. And the first thing I want to point is that it's finding 2 columns, okay? So if I go transform data, then we will go to the powerquery editor. And we could start our work from here. I want to close this file and open another one just to show you something that can happen with these files. Let's first scroll down. We see that we have 2 columns and the second column shows empty throughout. There's only a few rows that we have here. Let's check another file. So I'm going to do the same thing. Data tab, and then under the Get and Transform Data group from Text CSV, same folder, change these to all files, and I'm going to use this N10 file that was generated the same way from Microsoft Stream. You see here the file now comes with 3 columns. So depending on how the file is processed, we may get more or less columns. Let's click Transform Data and see how this file looks like. If we scroll down, we will see that sometimes the text does not stay all in column 1 and may go to column 2 and maybe possibly to column 3. And we don't know if other longer files could bring us more than 3 columns, so that we should account for that, okay? So you see we have a few rows that the text was split into 2 columns. Okay, so because of that, my first action will be to merge these 3 columns into just one. We have here the change type step. We can delete that. We can also change the name of the query, because powerquery automatically gave the name of the file I pointed the data where our data is, our data source, as name of the query. We can change these to maybe just captions. Okay. And so let's start that work. We will select all the columns, and then under Transform tab, we come to Merge Columns here, and we will ask powerquery to merge the 3 columns into just one and use space as a separator so that we can have a space between the text in different columns. The name of the column merged doesn't matter. Let's use that name. And so now we have 1 column only. Okay, let's go and see what we can do. We know that we always get these few rows at the top that we don't need. And the first block of text that we need starts in row 9. So we can remove the first 8 rows. Okay, so let's go to Home tab and remove rows, remove top rows, 8 rows, and OK. Okay, now let's see what else we don't need. We don't need these rows that start with note, right? So we can come here to the filter button, use text filters, and say does not begin with. We want to choose to select the rows that do not begin with note. So here I will type note. It needs to be spelled the same way. Okay, I can even add the space that comes after note and do OK. Okay, so now we got rid of those rows. We still have these apparently blank rows. Let's see if we can remove them. I can come remove rows, remove blank rows. And it didn't work. We see that the removed blank rows was headed here to our pane on the right, but it didn't remove these rows. Why is that? If we inspect these rows, let's click in one of those cells and come here. If we move our cursor, we can see that there are spaces there. Let me do a zoom a little bit there. You see, we can see there's spaces there. Where do those spaces come from? Can you remember where they come from? They come from the fact that when we merge those 3 columns, we asked a separator between each one of the between each 2 columns. So we had 3 rows, we got 2 space characters, and these rows were empty in each one of the 3 columns, but then merging them created 2 space characters. Okay, so what we can do is to come to the previous step before removed blank rows and make sure we eliminate those extra space characters. To do that, we can come to Transform, and under Format, use the trim function there. This will eliminate any extra spaces that we may have at the beginning and at the end of the text in that column. It's not quite the same as in Excel. In Excel, it will also eliminate multiple spaces that are together in the middle of the string. In powerquery, that those multiple space characters in the middle of a string are not eliminated by trim, but any extra spaces at the beginning or at the end of the text will be eliminated. In this case, those cells contain only space characters. It doesn't matter how powerquery thinks of them at the beginning or at the end of the text stream, they will be eliminated. So let's choose trim, insert step here, yes. And so now we can jump to our the step that we had created, the last step now, and we see that those blank rows went away. So great. So now let's see what we need to do. We know that our information comes in sets of 3 rows. So we have ID, timestamp, text, ID, timestamp, text, and so forth. When we have this type of situations, usually the next step will be to create an indexed column. Let's come to add column and index column. If we choose from there, it will generate a column that starts with 0, and that's fine for now. Okay. Now, we need 2 things. One is that I need the rows to be numbered in a way that shows that these 3 rows belong to the same record, the same entry. So for example, I would need this to go 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. That's one thing I need to do. The other thing I need to do is also to find a way to identify the different types of rows that we have here, the different types of information. So if I number these rows like 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, I know the zeros will be the ID rows, the ones will be the timestamp rows, and the 2s will be the text rows. Okay, let's start with that one. Select the index column and then come to add a new column tab, add column tab. I want to add a new column, and come here to standard, and under here we have the modulo function. Let's do that. And because we have sets of 3 rows, we will use the value 3 in here. Okay. This created the modulo column for us. What this does is it gives us the remainder of the division of each one of the values we had here under index column. The division of that value by 3. So 0 divided by 3, the remainder is 0. 1 divided by 3 is 0, and the remainder is 1. 2 divided by 3, 0, and the remainder is 2. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and the remainder is 0, and so forth. So we will get cycles of 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, and so on. Okay. The other thing we need now is to transform this column in a way that the numbers will come as 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, or we could start with 1 instead of 0. It doesn't matter. So let's use the same button here, standard, and this time, but not in add column, because now I don't want to add another column. I can just use this one and transform it. So let's come to the transform tab instead, and use the standard button as well. And here we have integer divide. Use that. And the same thing, we have groups of 3 rows, so we will divide by 3. And this will generate what we needed. So groups of the 3 of the same number. 0, 0, 0 means these 3 rows are record 0. 1, 1, 1 means these 3 rows are record 1, belong to the same set of data. 2, 2, 2, and so forth. Okay, so we are in a good shape now. Next thing will be to use this column here as column headers, the values on this column as column headers. To do that, let's go to transform and use pivot column. Now it asks us, okay, so where are the values? We say that the values for each one of the columns that we will generate are under the merged column. That's fine. Okay, the selection was correct. Then we need to come here to the advanced options and say that we do not want to aggregate. We don't want to count rows or sum values, anything like that. We just want to transfer these values under each one of the new columns. Let's do OK. And there we go. So we got a column 0, a column 1, and the column 2. And under each column, we have the different types of data that we had in each set. So set 0, index 0, first row is under column 0, second row is under column 1, third row is under column 2, and so forth. Then we have the 3 ones that now are distributed throughout these 3 columns. I don't need the ID, so I'm going to remove this column, right-click remove. And then we can see what else we can do here. In this column, I have the starting and ending time for each one of the portions of the text. So it will be useful for me to separate those values into 2 different columns. So let's go to Transform, Split Column, and by delimiter. And the delimiter we have here is space, dash, dash, greater than sign, and then space. So select on or enter delimiter. Let's choose custom. And in here, space, dash, dash, greater than space. Each occurrence, that's fine. We only have 1 occurrence. And let's do OK. There we go. Now we have 2 columns, but transform the values as time values. You see here on the right the change type transformed each one of those columns to type time here. Let's remove that step and choose the type ourselves, or we could have changed it in the formula bar. So let's select both columns and then here right click, change type, and choose duration. Okay, so we have days, hours, minutes, and seconds with some decimal places. Now we can change the name of these columns. These will be the start time, starting time. This will be the ending time, so I'll name it end. This will be our text. And one last detail, if it may be easier for me if I need to follow the rows counting to start with 1. So let's select the column and come to standard again and add 1. So we will add 1 to all the values to start with 1 instead of 0. And that's it. Our text and our information is ready to load. Let's come to Home, Close and Load, Close and Load to a table in the existing worksheet. I don't need to create a new sheet, and do OK. It's loading our data, and we have our query here in sheet 1. Okay, so first thing I like to do here is to change the design. I prefer this one, no banded rows, and under view I'll remove the grid lines. Okay, here we can give it some extra space. We can see that the value comes that way, and it's displaying as days, hours, minutes, and seconds, and the seconds were rounded to whole seconds. We can change that, so we can come here, select the columns, and then under Home tab, you see custom number format is being applied. Let's come under to more number formats, and we can see that the number being applied is, the number format being applied is days, hours, days dot hours colon minutes colon seconds. We don't need the days, so we can come here and delete the dot and the days. And maybe I want to have a decimal place under seconds, so I can add .0. Let's try that. There we go. So now I have hours, minutes, seconds with a decimal place. Okay, looking good. So now it's time to test. I'm going to save my file. And let's test this with another file. The first thing we will see is that now to run this process with another file, we have a little bit of a challenge to make this query look to another file instead of the one we use to generate the solution. So now our problem is pretty much solved with the query that we created, but now we need to look at usability and efficiency challenges. So I have two concerns now. Can you think of what they are? The first one, we just talked about it. It's about the data source, how Power Query will find the new file that we need to process. The other one I'll show you right away. So let's come and edit our query here and see where those challenges are in the code. If we come here to View, Advanced Editor, we see that we can come here to Display Options and enable Word Wrap so that we don't have to scroll right and left. We can see that the Source tab has the path to our file. So the folder, the file name and extension are in here. One way could be come here and change the path there, but not everyone knows how to come here, and it's not very easy to do that. We need to be careful about all the characters that we replace. So that's one challenge there. The other challenge has to do with the merged columns step, the very first one that we did. Remember that I told you that not always we get 3 columns. Sometimes we have less, other times we might get more than 3 columns. But in this case, our solution used the file that had 3 columns, and the 3 column names, column 1, column 2, column 3, that came in the source here. So when we point to the file, we get 3 columns named column 1, column 2, column 3, and they are hard-coded. The column names are hard-coded in here. So this will be a challenge next time when you run the query, because if we don't have those same 3 columns, the query will give us an error. So let's address this challenge right here. This is a list. We can see that because it's in between curly brackets. And what we want here is, hey, I don't know if we will get 3 columns, 2 or more than 3 columns. What I want Power Query to do is to always merge all the columns we have in the source, which is indicated here, source. It's the name of our previous step. And in that step, we have a table. So if we refer to source at this point here in Power Query, it will understand it is the table generated in the source step. Okay, so let's jump again to merged columns, and in here I'm going to replace this portion of the code with, so delete that and come here and start typing table dot column names. We have it there. Tab. Okay. Column names of what? It needs, here it says a table. Okay, the table of which we want the column names is the table that we can refer to as source, created in the source step. Okay, so that's what we need to do. Let's confirm this step. we didn't get an error and everything was the same, because now it's looking at the table source and getting the column names that we have there. The next time, if that source only has 2 columns or has more than 3 columns, all the columns will be considered here. Okay, so the first challenge is solved. I'm going to load the query, because now to solve the problem of the data source, I'm going to create some new cells here in Excel. Control-Shift+ to create a couple of new rows here. And I'm going to create a cell where the user can type in the folder where the files are. If the files are always in the same folder, then this cell will only have to be filled in once. And then we will have another cell where the user can type the file name. Okay, this can be more automated if we have consistent file names, or in another time I can show you how we could create a file picker with VBA. So, and then we need a third cell that will give us the complete file path, which is what we need to give powerquery to find the data source. Let's do some formatting here. I like to give the blue color to the cells where the user will enter data, and give a gray color to the cells where I enter a formula. It's just my convention. You can use something else. So the folder is this one. I'm going to copy that and put it here, paste it here. And the file name, we can use any file name. So the file we used was this one. But now let's maybe use for example, the one we created, we generated on stream, which was this one. I'm going to copy this name, and we see that they all have v.vtt at the end. Okay, so the file path will be the folder, and then concatenate with, we need a backslash in between the folder and the file. So now concatenate with the cell that contains the file name, and now concatenate with the extension of the file that will be .vtt in between double quotes. So this is our formula, and this generated for us the complete file path that I need for our query. The next thing we need to do is to give a name to this cell. So let's create a named range here. Just come to the name field and let's put it, for example, captions file. Okay, I'm going to copy that, and now let's go back to our query. Let's go to View, Advanced Editor, and do some changes here in the code. So we want the source to be dynamic. Let's create a new row here before source. I'll call it source 0 equal, and now I'm going to explain powerquery where to find the path. The path is in that cell that I named captions file, if I'm not mistaken. So excel.current workbook, that's the first function we need to use. Let's put a comma there, and let's see what this gives us. If we go to the source 0 step, this gives us a table with all the content available in our workbook. we are interested in this captions file, which is a named range. If we click here, we see here at the bottom the path we have in that named range. Okay. The captions file is under column name. So I come here and I add curly brackets because I will create a list, and I say under column name, that's hence the square brackets, I'm referring to this column, find the rows that have captions file in it. Okay, let's see what happens if I validate this step. I get this. I get the record for that row. So I have content and name. These were the names of the columns in the step before. I am interested in what we have here under table. Okay, so now I'm going to say give me the content. And because the content gives us a table, now I get a table that has one column named column 1 and one row only with the value that I need as my path. So now I'm going to say from this content, I want column 1, and if I do just this will give me a list, and from this list I want the first item of the list, which in powerquery, because it's 0 based, is item 0. So I put under curly brackets the 0. Anyways, you don't have to worry about all that. Let me just go back and explain everything you need to do, okay, until you come to understand all the components that I just explained. So all you have to do is the following. You create the name in the cell in your Excel workbook where you have your path, that cell there. That cell, we gave it the name captions file. Then you come to powerquery, edit your query, come to view, advanced editor, and you create a row before the source step that you can name the way you want. I named it source 0, equal, and then you make sure you have this expression saved in your cheat sheet folder with this information. All you have to do is to paste this string here. The only thing it needs to be different on each case is the name of the named range. So just make sure the name you gave to the cell, you put it here. Make sure to also put a comma at the end, okay? Now, here in the source step, it's still pointing to the original file path. But now I want powerquery to point to whatever the result is in step source 0. Okay, so let's do done there. And now we should get a new file, because remember I didn't put, I put a different file path on my cell. So now when we go and load our data, we will get different results here. It's still loading. There we go. So now we have that shorter video in here. To avoid the columns to shrink, as it just happened that I have put them bigger and now they shrunk, we can set them the way we want, and then click on the table, come to data properties, and here adjust column width, uncheck that so that the next time columns are not auto adjusted. Okay, let's just do one last test. Let's choose another file, maybe this one, Let's paste the name of the file there. The folder is still the same. Enter. And now all we have to do is to refresh. We can come here, refresh, or refresh all there. There we go. Now we have the data for the new text with the new captions. So that's it. That's what I had for you today. I hope you enjoyed this content. If it was valuable to you and you think it may be useful for someone else, remember to share this with your friends, your network, your colleagues. Remember to give it a like, leave your comment, leave your testimonial if you end up using this solution on your work. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear your feedback. And we will see you soon. Bye now.